This episode is brought to you by our friends over at Anchor. What's Anchor, you say? Well, it's a free podcast hosting service that allows you to record and edit your podcast right from your phone or computer. Anchor distributes your podcast for you to all the popular places, including Spotify and Apple Podcasts. You can make money from your podcast through the Anchor platform with no minimum listenership required. And it's everything you need to make a podcast in one spot. If you want to get started, download the free Anchor app or go to anchor.fm. Once again, if you want to get started creating, uploading, and making money from your very own podcast, then download the free Anchor app or go to anchor.fm. Now let's get into our episode. Hey, how's it going, everybody? Welcome to Insert Memory Card, a nostalgia-based podcast that's centered around music, movies, gaming, and whatever else we want to talk about. I'm Josh.
Hey, I'm Josh, also.
Hey, we're both Josh. That works out. Well, welcome to episode 0?
Zero.
Is it 0 or 0.5?
I like 0.
Okay. You like 0?
Yeah, I think it's cool.
As in Resident Evil 0?
I haven't played it.
Me neither. I need to play that, though. I have it, so...
No excuses.
What's wrong with me? No excuses whatsoever. Anyways, this is episode 0. We, Josh and I, we've recorded like 6 or 7 episodes by this point, and we just wanted to get a feel for kind of how things were going and the topics that we wanted to discuss and things like that before we created this episode, to just kind of introduce the show, introduce ourselves, and kind of talk about, just real quickly talk about things that we, might discuss on the show. So anyways, without further ado, I'll let Josh introduce himself.
Hooray, I'm Josh. You may have heard. You're probably Josh too.
That's true.
Just, thinking about the statistics and likelihood, you're probably also Josh. So what's up, Josh?
The listeners, Josh.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
Gotcha.
Yeah.
That's based on, if they graduated in 2008, then they definitely are Josh.
More than likely, you're Josh.
That's
so
right.
How's it going? Welcome to the club. Let's see. I am a musician and a gamer, I guess you could say. I'm really interested in mechanics and technology, and we're going to talk about a lot of those sort of things while we're here. If you know me, which, if you're one of the first couple people to listen to this podcast, you probably know either myself or Josh. And we're basically just going to be chatting about stuff that we're interested in. So if you've had conversations with us in the past, this is going to be pretty similar to just listening in to a chat.
True story.
Yeah. And, Josh, he's also interested in a lot of the same things. Tell us about yourself, Josh.
Yeah, so I'm Josh. Statistically speaking, it just works out that we literally graduated with like 6 Joshes. I've said it probably 15 times in the span of 5 episodes, or however many episodes, but it's true, and I won't forget that. I think we had science class with like 4 Joshes just in one science class.
Yeah, in a class of 300, there were 6 Joshes.
Was that how many people were in our graduating class?
That's the number I've always remembered.
Oh, okay. Because I could not remember for the life of me. I was like 200 doesn't feel right. 250 felt more right.
10 years later, I could be totally wrong.
Yeah, who knows? I really am not interested in opening up the yearbook.
Oh, yeah.
And counting. But anyway, so I'm Josh. Also interested in music. Both Josh and I play guitar. We both sing. We both played French horn in band together. My first kind of quote unquote rock instrument was bass, whereas Josh's was guitar. So we both can play those instruments, and we're kind of like inversely good at them compared to each other. I think that's a fair statement when you say that.
Yeah.
We're like more naturally, I don't know.
Fundamentally.
Yeah, we're like fundamentally tied and kind of acquainted with those instruments, like me on the bass and Josh on the guitar. They also are the similar height to us as far as our height difference goes. I'm a little bit of a longer scale length than Josh, but anyways. And then Josh is definitely the superior drummer and keyboard player, and I can play both of those things, but I wouldn't say that I'm amazing at them. And I think both Josh and I would say that we're good enough to kind of get by on those instruments, but nothing fancy.
I would never go out and be like, I can play drums in your band. Like,
oh yeah. Yeah. I hope to be there soon. I'm going to take some lessons soon, so I'm pretty excited about that. But yeah, I'm pumped.
Cool.
But anyways, I'm a teacher. I teach music production, which is the single best job ever. It's just been such a great time already. I've only recently started doing that, and I'm literally partnered with a music studio where two of the guys that work there have recorded BB King. That sounds like a video game character. BB King and Eric Clapton. One of the guys has like quite a few Grammys and all this stuff. And so I'm just sitting here like amongst greats. And they're like, so what do you do? And I'm like, I just dabble around. It's like, I'm not going to say anything that would ever act like I'm anything reasonable at it. But I really enjoy teaching and I enjoy learning. So, and Josh is the same way as far as learning, at least. I don't know about teaching. I don't think you like teaching.
I don't, but learning is fun.
Yeah, learning's. I think both Josh and I would be the type of person that if we were able to like, well, maybe I'm wrong in making this assertion, but I would certainly be fine with just taking college classes of varying types if there was like no stakes and I didn't have to worry about grades or anything. And I could just sit in class and like listen.
Yeah. I
would enjoy that.
I don't do the class thing. I'm not good at school. When I want to know something, I do my own research.
Yeah, that's fair enough. I'm trying to think anything else. Oh, I'm married. Been married for 6 years now. Known my wife for 8 years. Isn't that crazy?
Nuh-uh.
Yeah. 6 years.
That's a lie.
It was 6.5 really, but
oh my God.
Yeah. Have a 2-year-old. He's awesome. And I'm so pumped to get to that point where he's more like able to play games with me.
Yeah.
So that's going to be just fun times, but yeah, have a couple cats, but Josh and I are both more things that Josh and I have in common. We're both just big animal people. So Josh is more of a dog person than a cat person. I think that's fair.
I think over the years, I've come to the realization that I am glad that animals are out there and I love them, but I don't want to take care of them. Like, wow. Yeah. Like I'm happy that there are humane societies and, foundations that help animals and that there are animal rights advocates out there, but I don't want to have to be responsible for them.
See, that's a responsible choice instead of, I'm going to adopt this random dog and then treat it like crap.
Oh, yeah. I saw a post the other day that was like, don't get your kids a dog and then leave them on the side of the road 6 months later. And I was like, I can't believe people do that. Like, that would have never come into my mind, I'm
not going to call them out, but I know somebody that did that.
No.
Dead serious. Yep.
Damn.
Yep. Just left the dog out on the side of the road.
Mm-hmm. Wow. That's insane.
Yeah. That's something, I grew up, so Josh grew up with
weenies,
with some weenie dogs. I try to be fancy and say the name, but they're weenie dogs. Let's be honest.
They're weenies.
And so for you grew up with animals in the house. I never grew up with animals in the house. Oreo just came in and would like sleep in the laundry room at nighttime. So it wasn't like cold, but he just played in the field and hung out, outside because we just had so much land. So for me, because I never had an animal inside the house, that was something I always wanted.
Yeah.
So now just like, eat up. I'm so pumped to have, like, I'm so excited that Romeo's just sitting beside me. Like that just thrills me to no end.
Nice.
As mad as I get at him when he poops, because there's something wrong with you, bud. Like, love you, I'm gonna pet you all the time, and I love that you're my gaming buddy. But oh my gosh, there's something going on in there. There's like multiple dead animals in there or something, because it's just horrible. But trying to think of anything else. So Josh and I are both like very curious people, and we kind of know quite a bit about a bunch of random topics.
Yeah.
So
we're both very interested in how things work.
Yeah.
I know there's already a website called howstuffworks.com, which is a shame, because that would be, if I were going to like come up with a website, that would be my website.
That would be your website.
Yeah. I just love knowing how and why things work. And then, you know, when you have questions about it, you can more easily figure things out.
Yeah. Yeah. What a great website. Owned by Discovery Channel now.
Is it?
Mm-hmm.
I've been less happy with their content.
I haven't been on that website in quite a long time, because for the most part, you know, I've researched a lot of the things that I'm super curious about, you know.
Yeah.
And then now with YouTube being so crazy popular like it is, that kind of a lot of those answers are on there now.
Yeah. I remember a while ago, probably like 10 years ago, when I first discovered that website, it was like, oh my gosh, I love everything on here. It's basically just like information and diagrams, you know?
Yeah.
But like nowadays, it's almost like kind of clickbaity. Yeah, like a lot of their articles and information is just like really lame.
10 things you didn't know your car could do.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I asked Josh if he wanted to start a podcast with me, and I was like, you know, I'm just going to be really upfront. I was really inspired by a podcast called Knockback, which is done by the umbrella kind of LLC that's over that is Colin's Last Stand, which is done by a guy named Colin Moriarty. So go over there and listen to that, because it's definitely fantastic. So if you're looking for something that's this flavor and you haven't watched their stuff or listened to their stuff before, definitely do that as well. Because if you're listening to a podcast, more than likely you have a job like making lightsabers, and you have to watch a lightsaber be made on a lathe for 3 hours straight, and you're just sitting there making sure nothing goes wrong. Which, P.S., my neighbor does that, so that's awesome.
I was like, that's way too specific.
Yeah, he literally makes lightsabers. That's his job.
That's awesome.
Like $2,000 lightsabers. It's awesome.
Heck yeah.
So, anyways, yeah. So, you know, if you're listening to us and you have the extra time, maybe you have a longer commute or something like that, like definitely check those guys out. It's really great. Colin he comes from like a super video game background, and then his brother's like literally works for like Sesame Street or something crazy. So he's like really high level like animator.
Cool.
So anyways, but I just wanted to take an opportunity for Josh and I to just like share our memories from our childhood, from high school, from being in middle school and high school together. And, you know, ultimately, if nothing else comes of this podcast, I would love for my, you know, kind of, I guess, legacy, if you will, or people that, you know, live past me to have extra stuff to remember me by. Like I would absolutely kill to have something like this of my great grandfather talking about like whatever, working on a truck or something like that. That would be so cool. To have like some old like record, like LP that's just like somebody happened to just record him having coffee with somebody, you know?
Yeah.
And so it's this cool opportunity to just kind of like have a record and remember these things. And, you know, it's been cool recording it so far, because it's really like, it's brought up just things that Josh and I had kind of forgotten about, but maybe one of us kind of remembered, or even something else that we said like kind of like caused us to have this other memory. And it's cool now being older and being, 12 years removed from high school or so, to go back and even think about how we felt then and kind of stew on that a little bit more. And like for Josh and I both, it's like we've realized even more how much how similar we are. Like we already knew we were similar, but it's kind of like brought that up even more,
Yeah.
So
We're also in an interesting age, like you and I being 30, right? Because
right.
it's like 3 decades, 3 portions of 10. You can divide our lives into 3 portions of 10. 10 years ago, we were 20. 10 years before that, we were 10 years old. I don't know. It seems like an interesting time or portion of life to reflect on where we're at and who we are and what we used to be and what we could be in the future compared to the past. And I think when you're young, it's hard to imagine what 30 is going to be like, or like
Right.
what 50 is going to be like. And now I think it's easier to kind of chop up and imagine, in 10 more years, we'll be 40, and it's like, that's a third of what we've done so far. We have to do another third over again,
Right.
That's
right.
I guess that's just my math brain thinking weird about it.
No, I like that because 30, you're right. 30 is an age where you've had long enough to reflect, but it's short enough to still aspire.
Sure.
And so like you can still look to the future with like, and not to say that like if you're 50 or 60, they're like, okay, you're done. That's I'm not saying that. Like I know a couple people who recently, or I've heard of like, people that are at retirement age, quote unquote, that have started YouTube channels and had a lot of success, and like just done a whole new thing or started building guitars as a hobby. Now it's turned into like actually a source of income. Like didn't need it because they're retired, but all of a sudden they have this business and it just started as like, I just wanted to build a guitar to see what I could do,
Yeah.
Cool stuff like that. So anyways, for us though, at 30, we can reflect on the past and be like, we're not the most mature people in the world, but I definitely, I would certainly say I'm more mature now than I was even at 25,
Yeah, definitely.
And definitely more than like 20 and 18 and things like that. And
yeah,
we can say it's been a decade since I've done this, you know.
We were 15 half of our lives ago.
Yeah. That's crazy.
Yeah.
But yeah, so Josh and I have known each other for almost 20 years. So it'll be 20 years very soon in 2021 because we met each other in 6th grade. And what's funny about kind of our friendship is we've always been good friends, but we became like really good friends, best friends at like kind of the college age.
Yeah.
It wasn't always the case that we were like, we didn't have the best friend forever ring from SpongeBob where we like circled around the ring or anything like that. We have that now, but best friends forever. Best friends forever.
I don't think I remember that one.
Sad. Well, that's a good one. That's I think it's the one where Patrick has the secret box.
Nope.
Oh man, we just watched that one because my son he likes SpongeBob, and I'm like, yes, this is great. So because my wife and I love SpongeBob. So anyways,
yeah, I think we were both out of high school. We were just kind of like, what do we do now?
Yeah.
we bonded over the like, what happens next kind of feeling,
Yeah. We didn't realize it, but we've both recently found out that and been diagnosed ADHD. So in hindsight, it's like, what do we do with these crazy ADHD brains of ours? Like, I'm interested in all the things at once,
Yeah. Same.
And don't know what to do with myself. But what we did do was we built about a 5 foot tall, 4 foot wide Coke can pyramid.
Yeah, it was a 3-dimensional pyramid.
Yeah, it was great. That was awesome. I'll never forget that.
Was it 3 or 4 dimensions? Like, or sided, I mean.
It's 4-sided.
It was a 4-sided pyramid?
I think it was 4-sided.
Jeez.
It was massive.
I'm sure my parents were just like, what is going on? This is ridiculous.
It's so true.
They're like, how many pounds of sugar have these kids drank?
Per night too. So there was a season, like a summer essentially, where we were literally at each other's houses 3 to 4 times a week, maybe even more.
Yeah.
And every time we went to Walmart, and Josh's dad had a discount as an employee there, and so we got a 12-pack of Mountain Dew, Pepsi, whatever. It was always whatever the newest Mountain Dew flavor was half the time.
Mm-hmm.
And we would dominate that thing, usually all 12 cans in a night.
Yeah.
And if not, we would get very close, and then Josh would have the leftovers. Like the next day, and then inevitably like the day after that I was back over, and then this time it was a 12-pack of Dr. Pepper. But anyways, and speaking of which, we keep being very conversational, and that's semi on purpose. We want this to be just a hangout. This isn't some sort of like we in our episodes we have outlines, but we're not scared of like getting off track or anything like that. Like I'm not, sticking to some sort of time frame or schedule. Like we both want this to be conversational and hang out. And I know for me, the podcast that I listen to, like some of my favorite parts of the show come out of when they're hanging out and they're being less official and they're talking about whatever, all of a sudden they're off topic talking about pizza or something. So that's,
if you enjoy Josh and myself, then you'll enjoy this podcast.
That's true. And if you don't enjoy us, that's okay.
Yeah. It's just going to be us chatting about BS.
Yeah, basically. So speaking of BS that we'll be chatting about, so at the front, I said music, movies, games, and whatever else we want to talk about. So with music, since we're both musicians, that's an easy one.
Yeah.
But Josh and I do have pretty different taste in some regards. Like there's plenty of times we'll send each other something and we're like, nope.
I couldn't believe it. The last time we talked, we had like 3 or 4 songs in a row, back to back, where I would mention a song that I thought was great and you hated it, and then you would be like, that kind of reminds me of this song that I love, and I would hate it.
It's true.
And we went back and forth like 4 or 5 times, and it was unreal.
It's great. So I think on the music side, there'll be somewhere it's like very much us reminiscing about music from high school that we loved. Mm-hmm. But it'll be good because I think there's going to be good like conversation and push and pull on the music side of things. And there will inevitably be people that I pick that Josh is like, oh, and vice versa.
Right. And I don't think we're definitely not top 40 dudes. Right. But I think we still are aware of modern music that's happening today. Yeah. So if something is good and pops up, we'll probably bring it up. If it's like, the song of the week, I doubt we'll touch on it. Yeah. And, this is going to be ultimately more leaning nostalgia based, but that's not to say that like newer things are off limits. Like if we want to talk about the resurgence of the Jonas Brothers, then we have that right. I don't think we'd ever do that, but it could be. Yeah. I mean, we both love the song Jealous. I do love that song. That's a great song. I get told I look like him a lot. That's actually fair. I think that's a pretty accurate. Yeah. I can't think of another celebrity that you look more like off the top of my head. Yeah. At the restaurant, I would get that pretty often. Yeah. That's a good one. I always like, when somebody looks like a celebrity, but that celebrity is not necessarily attractive. Uh-huh. So the move is to go, does anyone ever tell you look like somebody? Uh-huh. And then they'll be like, oh yeah, I look like,
who's the guy that plays like who's the guy that plays like the rat on Harry Potter? Like that guy or something.
I don't know the actor's name, but
you know what I'm talking about.
You look like a rat.
Yeah. Hey, did you like? You don't go up to somebody's like, "Hey, did you look like that rat guy?" Instead, it's like, "Hey, does anyone ever tell you look like a celebrity?" And they're like, "I know. Sometimes I get the rat guy on Harry Potter."
And then you're allowed to go, "Oh, that's not who I was thinking."
Yeah, and then you kind of make them feel a little better, you know.
Yeah.
This is how to be self-aware 101 or awareness of other people's feelings 101. But gosh, like sometimes somebody like I'll catch somebody, or like you'll be in a group and somebody's like, "Hey, you kind of look like such and such." And I'm like, "Oh, bad move." Like that's like you don't whip that out when the person's attractiveness is questionable, or it's kind of one of those like,
anybody ever tell you look like Allison Janney?
Who is that?
It's a running joke with us that Allison Janney is not an attractive woman.
Oh, gotcha.
She plays CJ Craig on The West Wing.
No clue.
Oh, she's not
The West Wing.
Yeah, she still does stuff these days, but I don't think she's like super popular. But it started with Dylan, because Dylan always thought she was sexy, and I disagreed.
Yeah, gotcha.
And then Alex and I like doubled down on thinking that she was an unattractive person.
Oh my God.
So we would make fun of Dylan, and then Alex's brother took Dylan's side. Yeah, so it's been an ongoing thing where we make fun of Allison Janney.
There's an Office episode where they do that over oh my gosh. Anybody that listens to this will kill me that listens to The Office, so I have to pull this up to save myself, because this is like an iconic. Oh yeah, they have a full-on debate over whether Hillary Swank is attractive, and it is so funny.
Does anybody mention that she looks like Steven Tyler?
No, but nobody mentions that.
Oh, that's my joke.
Probably the best. Go ahead.
My joke is that her and Steven Tyler are the same person, but go ahead.
So, they're like literally The Office is divided. And so they're literally having debate over it. One character, Oscar, who's known for like being very OCD, is like, he's got like the lines drawn showing like, I think he's showing that because her face is like too symmetrical that it doesn't look right or something like that. I forget what it was, but anyways, just going into it. And at one point, Jim, the like main guy, goes to Kevin, and he has him close his eyes, and he like describes Hillary Swank, and he's like, and she comes up to you and she whispers in your ear like blah blah blah, and he's like, "Now you tell me, is Hillary Swank hot or not?" And so Kevin he's in the not camp, and so he stands up and he goes over to the other side, and they're like, "Yeah." And then he stands back up and he walks over to the other side, and they're like, "What?" And he's like, "The question isn't, would you do her? The question is she hot? Respect the game, Jim." And then just sits back down. And it's just like, Kevin is just, he's apparently, that actor has made more money on Cameo than any other actor, because, which is like, have you heard of that?
No.
It's where celebrities, like, you basically pay a celebrity to like wish your friend happy birthday or something like that.
Oh, okay. Gotcha.
And so anyways, that actor that plays Kevin on The Office has made like $3 million this year from Cameo.
That's awesome.
He's such a great character in that show. I do think there's a little bit of they don't, his character starts off more intelligent and slowly just gets more stupid as the show goes on.
Yeah.
And that bothers me a little bit, because like probably 4 episodes in, he's like talking about how he used to do poker championships and win all the time and stuff. And so it's like, oh yeah, he's an intelligent guy. And then like later on he's like inventing his own language to use less words. He's like, me use less words, blah, like stuff like that. So anyways, Kevin's definitely one of my favorites, but and that's another thing we can debate about is The Office, because
it's not good.
You're not a fan. Yeah. You're not a fan of cringe comedy. That's the main root of the issue for you, is you're not a fan of cringy stuff.
Yeah, it makes me uncomfortable.
Yeah, as it should. It's supposed to. So, that was music with a little bit of an off-topic discussion on The Office. See, it's great. Then movies. Josh and I both love movies. We have pretty similar taste in movies. However, I'm way more forgiving on bad acting than you are.
Yeah, I don't know. Movies are going to be complicated because it's tough for me to really pinpoint why I like certain things or dislike other things.
Yeah, I have to dive deep,
and we can have fun with this conversation as well, because my new roommate is a director, and like a huge movie fan. Yeah,
that's awesome.
Yeah, so he's got lots of strong opinions, and we usually disagree, so that's always fun.
Oh man, I'm pretty pumped about that.
Yeah, he directed all of our new music videos.
Nice.
Yeah.
Nice. Yeah, so I don't know why I'm very incapable of determining bad acting unless it's really bad. I feel like, I don't know, like part of me wants to like watch, like study up and be like, how can you tell a good actor from a bad actor? I'm sure there's like 4 YouTube videos on this, and at least one of them's got to be good. But I can tell stiff acting. So like Arrow, for instance, the guy that plays the Green Arrow, especially early seasons, is stiff, like so stiff.
Yeah.
And so I can tell that. But then there's other times where you'll be like, oh yeah, such and such just does a terrible job in that movie. And I'm just like, did they? and it's not even a like, it's a literal, it's like ignorance. Like I just can't always pinpoint bad acting.
Yeah.
So yeah, that'll be fun, because we both kind of have these like you're like unaware of why you like or dislike things. I'm just unaware of what good acting is. So I just like everything. So it'll be great. I would say our movie tastes are mostly similar.
Yeah.
With the exception being like, for instance, I like cringe comedy. You don't.
No.
But then I have a problem. I don't know if this counts as cringe, but the movies where everything goes wrong.
Yeah.
I have a hard time with those sometimes.
Like what?
Like I Meet the Parents.
Oh, okay.
Like I like the movie.
Yeah.
But then there's other times where there's a point where I'm like, okay, this is gone. And I know it's supposed to be fantastical. It's a movie. It's a story. But there's always this point where my suspension of disbelief can't take it anymore.
And
I'm like, Ben Stiller doesn't deserve this, man, And so with those movies, there's every now and then I'll watch something like that and just can't handle it anymore. We're 3/4 of the way through the movie and I start to dislike it because there's just too much that's gone wrong. I'm like, give the guy a break. Come on.
That is actually a pretty deep conversation, because it kind of goes into like what the movie is asking of the viewer.
Yeah.
Like what it's hard to always identify intent.
Right.
Like, is this movie supposed to be doing this? Or is it just failing at something else? Like, that's kind of hard to figure out sometimes.
Right. Is the movie trying to be campy? Like, we had an off-topic discussion on one of our episodes about Van Helsing being so campy.
Right.
And you were saying that you think it's intentional. I was saying I wasn't so sure.
Yeah.
If it wasn't, then how did the movie get greenlit? Was kind of my question. So yeah, some good laughs on that one.
Yeah, it's been a long time since I've seen that one, but I remember liking it when I was in high school.
Yep, same here. Then I watched it again and was like, oh gosh. That being said, Underworld holds up.
It does? Okay.
Yeah, I love that movie.
Nice.
I like when I tend to like when things are grounded. That doesn't mean that I don't like fantastical things, but I kind of like how Underworld, it's a little, like they don't call them werewolves, they call them lichens.
Yeah.
Because it's lycanthropy, stuff like that. It's like I like those little touches.
Yeah.
So, anyways, that'll be a fun conversation. And then with gaming, Josh and I sit, because we're 30, we're in that millennial era. So I feel like the kind of, I don't want to say the millennial gamers not represented at all. There's plenty of YouTubers that represent our generation, like the Completionist.
Lots of speedrunners too.
Yeah, speedrunners, Super Beard Bros, which is one of my favorite game streams. They're all millennials. So it's not that we're underrepresented in the gaming industry, or in the gaming, whatever, gaming medium thing. But I don't know. I feel like the people that talk about how do I put this? A lot of people that talk about retro gaming, let me put it this way. People that talk about retro gaming more seem to come from Gen X.
Okay.
And so they grew up, they were in middle school, for instance, when the Super Nintendo came out, something like that,
Uh-huh.
And so at best you might get like what's called a Zennial, which is like they're kind of a half and half. There's always crossover years. Like my dad is technically a baby boomer.
Yeah.
But he's really not, like to put my dad and my papa in the same category is like, what? That just doesn't make sense. But technically he's a baby boomer. So there's always those crossover generations, but even like a quote unquote Zennial is like still leans more towards that 16-bit, like the Super Nintendo was the greatest generation of consoles ever kind of thing. And nothing's wrong with that opinion, but I just feel like I don't know, it's good to have us kind of come in and be like, hey, hold on, these like really ugly, graphically speaking, ugly games from the PlayStation 1 and 64 era are still worth looking into, even if it's from a historical perspective. And we've had some episodes already where we've kind of talked about those consoles a little bit, but I think we represent a voice that's a little misrepresented in the retro community as far as like podcasts and things like that. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I don't know where to look, but I haven't seen much of our generation in that part of gaming.
Yeah, I haven't noticed, honestly. I guess I wasn't looking that closely.
So disappointed. But yeah, neither Josh or I are like, I don't think I would consider either of us to be like the hardest of the hardcore.
No, not at all.
And so I think that's another fun thing too, is that we represent this kind of middle ground of somebody who's into gaming. Like we're not just like, oh, I bought a console just to play sports games. And nothing's wrong with that. There's plenty of people that do that. And those games are, they sell well. So clearly they must be doing something right. But, but we're not also so hardcore that we, just beat game after game after game and things. We kind of represent this middle ground of gamer that, is, we enjoy gaming. We love gaming, but it's not our only interest. It's not our only hobby. So yeah, there may be some games that we haven't played or haven't beat. So I think there'll be some episodes where like we have to like go play a game to to say something about it,
Yeah, I was just thinking about that. Like we should definitely plan out experiences that we can talk about. Like if we want to play a game and then do an episode, or watch a movie and then do an episode, I think that'd be really cool.
Oh, 100%. We're definitely doing that. I think it'd be super cool. Like if we, found a movie or something that neither of us have watched that's like supposed to be iconic or something like that, stuff like that, or games. Like for instance, I haven't played the BioShock games at all.
I haven't either.
See, so that's something we could do. Now that's a bit of a time sink, but stuff like that. Or I've never played the original Ninja Gaiden games, Ninja Gaiden, however you want to say it. Tomato.
Yeah.
And so now I've played the one on Xbox. That was just good. Lord, that game was hard.
So you lied.
No, that's not the original.
I'm messing with
you. Okay, I was gonna say, there was an NES like trilogy. Okay. Yeah. You never know, dude. You never know. There was a post on Reddit the other day that was like, look how far mobile gaming has come. And it was like, it used to be whatever, like showed some like 2D game. And then it's like, now it's come to this. And everybody in the comments was like, why are you looking at like talking about this like 2D to 3D never happened on handhelds before like 2010, It's like, let's instead look at the Game Boy to the DS, because that's pretty impressive,
Right.
To go from like green and black to basically a miniature Nintendo 64 in terms of like, Super Mario 64 was on the DS. So anyways, so you never know. You could have not known about those games, but yeah, I've never played those. I'd love to. I'm interested to see how I do with the like hard as nails NES games. Because there's people that I've heard of that, like, for instance, didn't beat Cuphead, but can play all these crazy like Battletoads and stuff like that from the NES era. And I'm like, okay, how did you not beat Cuphead if you can do that game? Is that game not as hard as everybody makes it out to be? Because
I don't know.
Like Cuphead was really hard, don't get me wrong, but like it wasn't unbeatable. Like there was one boss that was bordering cheap. To be able to beat like a Battletoads based on its reputation, but not be able to beat Cuphead, I'm like, okay, either I'm better than I think I am, which I just don't think is true, or that person just couldn't play Cuphead well. I don't know. And then, people that are like, oh, I couldn't beat the Xbox Ninja Gaiden, but I could beat the NES ones. And it's like, wait, I thought those were harder, So,
yeah.
I'm interested to play that kind of era of games, because I don't, neither did you. Didn't grow up with the NES, right?
No, I had my uncle's Super NES when I was young. I got my hands on that for a little while.
Nice. So yeah, like really both of our first consoles, my first console was a Genesis, and my brother had an NES, but he got really pissed at it, and my parents like put it away. And then I don't know where it went, because we had it for a minute and now it's just gone. So I have an NES, but it's from a different place. But then we had, like, I was in my parents' attic a while back trying to find some old like gaming stuff of mine, and found a copy of Karate Kid. So I was like, well, where's the console? Like, why do I have Karate Kid, but I'm missing a whole console? This doesn't make sense.
Right.
It was a couple of NES games actually, but no console to be seen. So yeah, and then Josh and I were in middle school during the like PS2, GameCube, and Xbox era. So we have this kind of like a lot of nostalgia for that era. I think specifically that era we have super extra nostalgia for, which is cool.
I think, when we're talking about like childhood gaming, that's the main portion of it.
Yeah. So, I think it'll be good to play games that the other hasn't played of that generation and generations prior. Both of us still need to beat Chrono Trigger. I know I think you started it, right? I know I started it.
Yeah. I think I've got to, yeah.
Yeah. So
I'm maybe like 3 hours in or something like that.
Yeah, I'm in the same exact boat. So there's things that like people listening to this are probably screaming at us about, like, what? How have you not played this?
Yeah.
And the simple answer is we grew up at a time when, what were you going to say?
The simple answer is we have ADHD.
That's exactly right. The simple answer is we played it for 3 hours, and then we decided to learn about solid state battery design.
Yeah.
And went into that, So there you go.
Yep. There was an article about black nitrogen, and I got distracted.
Oh, geez. Is that something I'm going to have to look up after this?
I mean, I think it's cool. I don't think, if you're interested in chemistry.
I was bad at that class. So that class we had a study guide for. And if you did the study guide, you got 20 points on your final. Like you completed it. I made a 70 on the final after the bonus points.
Wow. Yeah.
Dude, I tried. That was the only class in high school that I genuinely tried and studied for and like genuinely like really paid attention during lecture because I was like, I suck at this. I've got to get better.
Yeah.
And dude, it just did not compute. Like, I don't think the teacher did a bad job. Like, it just wouldn't compute.
Yeah. I don't think I did great in chemistry either. And I think it was more about the math than the actual like understanding of chemistry.
Yeah, it's definitely the math formulas.
Yeah, like calculating molar masses and all that.
Yeah.
That was, to me, that was math. That wasn't science, which I know math is a science, but like I didn't feel like I was learning about the behavior of chemicals. I was learning about math.
Right. Which, speaking of which, leads us into our and anything else we want to talk about part of the intro. Josh and I are just curious beings. So like we have an episode on car engines and TV technology and that we've already recorded, and that's going to continue. So Phil, be prepared to see some sort of random episode about something where we explain how blah 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 works.
Yep.
Because we love that, and we'll definitely have some episodes too that are purely like it's none of the kind of main topics, but it's still kind of a nostalgia topic, like whatever cartoons that we loved as kids or things like that, toys, whatever. I can't. My brain's starting to slowly whittle away at the moment.
You getting tired?
Yeah, we live. One's in Georgia and one's in California, so bit of a time shift there. And then I have to get up super early with my hour commute. So every now and then I just enter brain fog mode. But yeah, we'll talk about things that are like, like for instance, hiking and things like that we've had a shared experience with, or that we just don't know about each other, like favorite breakfast cereal, stuff like that.
Do you remember
junk food?
Do you remember?
We have to do an episode on junk food, by the way.
Okay.
What were you gonna say?
I was gonna say, do you remember the time when we both got sick in PE and threw up at the same time?
Well, of course, because we're puke brothers. We're puke buddies. And Skinan. We'll have to bring Jacob in for Skinan, though.
Okay, yeah, I'm cool with that.
We can't talk about that PE class without Jacob here. So
okay.
I don't remember anything about Skinan, but
I don't either. I don't remember the rules.
I think honestly, the best way to describe it is to quote Marshall from How I Met Your Mother with basketball when he's like, "There's no rules. We just wail on each other." It was basically like, "There's no rules. We just throw balls at each other really hard and try to hit each other."
Yeah, I don't remember the rules at all.
Yeah, I'll tell you what I do remember is our sniping spitball shooters.
Oh yeah, that was awesome.
That was great. And man, that was a lot of fun. So we've had some good times for sure. So we'll definitely talk about those things and just share really funny stories. And then Josh and I both have a varied collection of cars that we have driven. And so we've already listed a couple episodes about cars that we're going to talk about, because that's another thing. We just love cars in general, but we've also had some funny cars that we've drove. So
it's eclectic.
Yes, it's quite eclectic, and hopefully more eclectic as I get play money. And I was really starting to get kind of just bummed because I didn't realize how much of Craigslist migrated to Facebook Marketplace.
Oh, really?
Yeah, because I didn't have a Facebook account for a minute there. I have a Facebook again, right?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay. And then when I started Facebook, it was basically like, hey, I don't know if you're a real person or not, so you can't do Marketplace.
Oh.
I think you have to establish like, I don't know, 100 friends or have been on Facebook for a few months plus have a certain amount of friends. There's some sort of thing that blocks you that you have to reach.
Yeah.
And anyways, I finally reached it just on a whim. I was like, let me see if I can go on Marketplace because I was looking for a Comanche.
Yep.
And a guy was showing me all the ones on Marketplace, and I was like, oh, good, because every time I would look on Craigslist for one, there wouldn't be any. I would do Auto Tempest and search like all the Craigslists, and like one would pop up.
Huh.
And I was like, I was freaking out because I was like, these, used to be able to, it's not a common vehicle, but it used to be able to find, one on Craigslist or two. And it's week after week, I was getting zero. Even like the Volvo 240 that there's 10 trillion of.
Yeah.
Like, ooh, I wonder if I can find a two-door 240 to turn into a really stupid drift car and put like a Corvette engine in or something like that. Just typical ADHD
Right.
research. And so and couldn't even find that, like just a regular 240, not even a two-door. And I was like, where did all these go? All on Facebook Marketplace, man. I feel so much better.
Oh man. Well, that's nice.
All of my CRXs, Corrados.
You found them all.
I found them all.
That's awesome.
EG Civic hatches, hatchbacks.
Yep.
Not EK. Need to be very clear about that. I do not like an EK hatch, which is the like 96 up. I like the EG, the little bubbly, So yeah, I like the little bubbly Civic hatchbacks. I would love to have one of those. And that, dude, I don't know what I'm going to do about the car thing because there's so many of these little like $5,000 cars that I want.
Yeah.
But I don't have enough driveway space. But I love them.
I know, me too.
Like, I love the Corrado. I think that is one of the most interesting. So, by the way, if you can't figure it out, Josh and I are definitely going to talk about cars. But I want a Corrado so bad, but I want a Comanche because I got robbed by a stupid tree and a driveway of that one. That'll be a fun story to tell.
You just did.
Oh no, I'm gonna tell it with the full thing, because nobody knows exactly how it hit the tree at this point. So, well, except for the people that know us. But what else? Oh, and then like I texted you the other day, and I was like, dude, I found my old Prelude. Oh, great! And dude, I hated that car, and now I want it so bad. Freaking nostalgia. Just now I'm like the song, I will remember that like plays in your head as you look at it, and you're like, oh man, we did have some good times kind of carving mountain roads.
I don't know why you hated it.
Well, the simple fact was at the time I was very much Merca when it came to cars.
Gotcha.
So that's A. B, the sunroof leaked. But I don't know if you know this. Oh man, the sunroof didn't just, or maybe you've forgotten. The sunroof didn't leak though, where it's just a straight leak. Instead, what it did is it collected behind the sunroof and above the like liner.
Yeah.
And then when you drove and hit the brakes, literally like 3 gallons of water would pour onto you.
Oh.
It's horrible. Like, I don't mind a straight leak. That's fine. So basically, I had to park it to where the nose was pointed down. And luckily, we lived in a mountainous area. So like even parking lots like had angles to them. And my parking space was such that I could do that. But if I forgot and I parked tail lower, it would all collect. And dude, it's so bad. And so that was the biggest reason. It was actually a fun car to drive. Like if I really was honest with myself and wasn't so like Merca when it came to cars at the time, I would have admitted like, yeah, I like this car. I definitely think if it was a stick shift, I would have liked it even more. At the time, I don't know if you remember this, but I was very adamant that I didn't like stick shifts. And then I got my Comanche and then I was like, okay, I was wrong. So, do you remember that?
No.
Oh man, there was a period of time where I was very much, and I think it was just like, when you're in high school, you're like finding identity and you're trying to establish identity. So because I didn't have a stick shift, and you and everybody else was like, no, stick shifts are great. They're more fun,
Yeah.
And I would be like, no, they're less efficient. They don't shift, like you can't outshift an automatic transmission, and all this stuff. And would just come up with these reasons when secretly on the inside, I wanted to drive a stick shift.
That's pretty silly.
I was silly in high school, so lots of silly things. But yeah, now I've become like, it's funny because when I was probably 17, Jonathan and Kayla were like, you're kind of, they were like, you kind of strike us more of like a tuner guy than like a American muscle car guy.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, nah, nope. And now here I am, and I'm like kind of leaning more that way. Like, don't get me wrong, I adore Corvettes. I love muscle cars. I love American cars. But there's a part of me that's like, yeah, I kind of do like Hondas a lot. Like, I have 2 of them, or I have 3 Hondas actually. One of them's just blown up. And I kind of, there's quite a few Hondas that I really like. I would like Volkswagen more if all the little things on them didn't break constantly, which is just makes me so sad. Anyways, I mean, now I've just become somebody who just likes cars. And it's like, if it's a good car, I like it,
Right.
And the older you get, the more you appreciate practicality too. It's nice to be able to cut on a car and not be concerned if it's going to cut on or not.
Yeah.
It's nice to just turn a key and it's like, oh, this works today, like it does every day, and I don't have to worry about that. So,
yep.
Anyways, that causes your taste to change a little bit. But yeah, so we'll talk about cars, and we'll talk about the eclectic amount of cars and types of cars that we've had. I don't even know how many cars I've had at this point, but almost everyone has something funny about it. Yeah, so I'm pretty excited to talk about that. But yeah, I think that's all that I can think of to kind of like introduce the show. Is there anything else you kind of want to say or think about?
No, I don't think so.
Yeah, well, cool. Well, anyways, yeah, I guess we've clearly established that's all we got. So we will see you next time. Like I said, this is episode 0, so there's like 5, 6, 7 episodes that are, have already been recorded. We just wanted to get our feet wet, but yeah, thanks for listening in, and we really appreciate you listening in and hanging out with us. And yeah, I'm Josh.
Hey, me too.
Sweet. We'll catch you later. Bye.
Bye.